Hey there guys, so welcome back to another video, and in this one we're going to be creating a very basic quiz app using Flutter. If you're not too sure what Flutter is, it's a Google framework which allows you to write Dart code, and then the app will be able to run on Android and iOS. For the purpose of this video, we're going to be using a Android emulator because an iOS emulator is a little bit more difficult to get all set up. So we're going to be using Android, and if you're not subscribed already, feel free. I believe 90% of my audience isn't, and if you do subscribe, that will help me create more content in the future. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I'm using Visual Studio Code. Feel free to use whatever you want, but let me just show you that I've got my emulator up and running here. We're going to be creating our Flutter project now, and I'm going to add Android X compatibility. I'm not entirely sure what it does, but if you're using Firebase in the future, or you want to add it to the project, then if you're going to create a fresh project, then I would recommend that you add the Android X compatibility, because it's an absolute nightmare to get it all set up if you've created the project without adding Android X compatibility. Trust me, I've had problems with it in the past, and it's just horrible to get set up. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new terminal and go to my documents folder. We're going to type Flutter create. I'm going to add the Android X in there and then the project name. I'm just going to call mine first quiz and press enter. And depending on how fast your computer is, it may take a while. I did try and do a few live streams a couple of days ago, but my computer couldn't handle it, so I actually went ahead and built my own computer just so I can do that in the future. But you can see here that we have our app created. Let's now open up that folder. So I'm just going to go into open folder and select it, which is first quiz. And we're probably going to need to open up terminal again. Yes, we do. New terminal. Let's go to the lib folder and then main.dart. You can see here that we've got some code already generated, and I'm going to show you what this does. So let's type flutter run and let that run. All this app does is just show you how many times you've clicked this button. So this app's pretty useless. We're going to make something of this. Let's go back to our other screen. I'm going to delete absolutely everything. I have a problem sometimes with that. Let's restart that. Select it all and delete. We're going to import the material, and it's package flutter material.dart. Alright, let's create our main method, run app, and this is going to be quiz. We're going to create a stateful widget, because if we create a stateless widget, we're not going to be able to set the state, so that's pretty important. We're going to get an error because we've not created that class yet. Extend stateful widget. Override state stateful widget. Create state, and then we're just going to return underscore quiz. Again, we've not created this class, so it's going to come up with an error. Let's create that now. It's going to extend state quiz. We're going to override, and we're going to create our build method. Widget build. We need a build context in there. And let's just return material app, like so. Save that, and there we go. Now, if we run this, it may not do anything, or it's probably going to give us an error. So let's just try this out. Command R if you're on Windows to hot refresh it. And you can see here that we do have an error. That's normal. Now we need to add the scaffold. But first, let's give it a title. And what this is basically on your where your apps are. That's the title for it. I'm just going to call this quiz. In fact, Flutter quiz. No, simple quiz. Alright. For the home, it's going to be a scaffold. And then within here, we'll create a body. And this is just going to be a column. This needs some children. Let's just add a text widget for the time being. We're going to save and refresh that. Let's go back to our emulator. And you can see here we've got hello world. It's not very visible. Don't worry about that too much just yet. We're going to replace this text widget because it's pretty pointless. I'm going to replace it with a container. This container is going to show the question number, the actual question itself, and then the answer. We're also going to give it a fixed height of 600 with a background color of white. So let's replace this. Container. Height is going to be 600. And then the color is going to be colors.white. That reminds me, let's set the background color for the scaffold as well to white. Alright. We're going to come back to this. But now we need to create a expanded widget. What this does is basically fill in the empty space. For the child, it's going to be a row. Let's add some children to that. We're also going to need 2 expanded widgets, but we'll work one at a time. Expanded. Child is going to be a gesture detector. And for this child, it's going to be a container. We're not going to worry too much about the on tap functionality just yet. Container. Let's set the color to, I'm going to create another color here, 0xff444444. That's like a dark grayish blackish color. Let's set the child to a align widget, and then for the child is going to be text. This is just going to be true. We also need to set the alignment. Alignment is going to be a alignment.center. Alright. Let's go ahead and copy this expanded widget and then paste it in there. We're going to change this color to red and change this text to false. Alright, let's refresh. And then you can see here that we've got our true and false buttons. Now we're going to work on our container, and this contains the question and answers. So let's go to our container widget, which is right here. For the child, we're going to add a padding widget because we need some padding. We're going to give it a value of 20, so edge insets.all 20. And for the child is going to be a column. Let's set some properties here. So the main axis alignment is going to be centered. And then the cross axis alignment is going to be stretched. Alright, let's add some children. We're going to need 3 text widgets. First one's going to be question number 1. We're just hard coding this value in right here. This is going to change in a little bit. Add another one. Birds can't fly. And then the other one is going to be our answer. Alright, let's go to our emulator and refresh. And as you can see here, we've got our 3 text widgets. Now let's add some styling to our widgets, because you can see here that it's looking very boring and plain. This is very simple to do. We're going to work on our buttons first. So let's go to our true text widget. I'm going to add some styling. So style is going to be a text style widget. Set the color to white. The size to 20. And then the font weight to 900. like so. I'm just going to copy this and then do the same for the false text widget. Let's go to our emulator and just refresh. There we go, that's looking a little bit better. Now let's add some style into these questions and answer widgets. Work on the first one. Style, it's going to be text style. The color for the first one is going to be a gray color, so colors.gray. Font weight, set this to 900, and let's change the size to, I'm not entirely sure, I'm just freeballing this at the moment. Let's say 16. Alright. Same for the other widgets. Text style. Color. The color for this is going to be black. Font weight is going to be font weight W900. And then for this size, we're going to set this to 20. Now for the answer. This color is going to change depending if you've got the answer correct. So don't worry about it too much. Text style. The color, we're just going to set this to green at the moment. Again, this is going to change depending on if you've got it right or not. Change that to green. Font weight. Font weight W900. Font size. Let's just set this to 16 and see how it looks. Alright, let's go back to our emulator. Okay, I mean, it's looking okay. We're gonna add some padding to the question number here. So let's add a padding widget. Padding is gonna be edge insets dot only, and then we're just gonna add padding for the bottom. Let's say 5, maybe 10. We'll just see how it goes. And then for this child, we're going to add this text widget. Save and refresh. Okay, that's looking a little bit better, but I think we could add some padding to this answer as well. So add another padding widget. And this is going to be padding for the top. And let's just set the child as this text widget. Alright. Refresh. And that is looking so much better. Now that we've got the styling taken care of, we can actually get into the nitty-gritty part, which is actually creating the model class. And again, this is pretty simple. This is a very easy app to create. Let's go to our lib folder and create another folder. I'm going to call this models. And within that, we're going to create a file, and this is going to be question.dart. Alright, we're going to import package Flutter and then material.dart. Let's create a class of question. We're going to need a string value, and this is going to be the question. And then we're going to create a boolean, and then this is going to be answer. Let's create a constructor question. We're going to require this dot question, and then require this dot answer. For some reason, this works now and then. It doesn't work all the time. So I'm just going to take these out, and I don't know why it doesn't work, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's remove that. We're going to import this into our main.dart file. Models, and then question.dart. We're going to create a list now of each question. List with a type of question. I'm going to call this questions. It's going to be equal to an array. And let's create a few questions in here. Pigs can fly. We're going to set this to false, obviously. If a pig can fly, that's kind of worrying. Question. I'm going to add another question here. Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft. It's going to be true. Another question. Obviously, you can add your own questions. Dogs have 5 legs. Well, they technically do. I'm not going to go too much into that. Let's just say 6 legs. False. Set another one. Birds have 2 wings. True. Can we add another one in here somewhere? Question. Dolphins are completely blind. This is going, let's just say this is false, which it is. Alright, so we've got our list of questions. Let's create a int, and this is going to be our question index, and I'll just explain a little bit what that does in a minute. Question index. We're going to set that to equal to 0. And you've got to remember, when creating a list, it always starts at 0. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We now need to set the values, the hard-coded values, to dynamic values. And the first occurrence is right here, question number 1. We don't want it to always say that. So let's go ahead and change this. This is basically like concatenation, if that's how you say it. And then we're just going to say question index plus 1, and maybe wondering why plus 1. Because remember, it always starts at 0, and we don't want it to say question number 0. Alright, the second one is here, pigs can fly. Want to change that to questions, and then question index dot question. Now let's work on our true and false buttons. For the gesture detector, we need to use the onTap functionality. We're going to do an if-else statement. So if we tap on the true button and the question is true, so questions, question index dot answer is equal to true. So if we select the true button and the question is, well, the answer is true, then we're going to set state. We're going to add one to the question index property, and to do that it's just ++, and we're going to set the answer, we've not created that yet, equal to correct. Let's go ahead and create that right now. It's going to be a string answer. It's going to be equal to an empty value. We need to set it to an empty value because we don't want this to be null. Okay. So if it's true, then we'll get that correct. Otherwise, I'm going to set state. Question index is going to add 1 to it anyway because we need to move on to the next question. But we're going to set the answer to false. Well, incorrect. Alright, let's do the same for the false button. On tap. If else So if questions question index dot answer is equal to false, then we've got that right. So we're going to set state question index plus plus, and the answer is going to be correct. If we haven't got that correct, then we're still going to set the state, and we're still going to add 1 to question index. Answer is going to be incorrect. Alright, so now what we need to do is, I mean, we can try this out, but for the answer, we need to set this to the dynamic answer. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's just change this to answer. Now we're going to do some inline if else statements. So for this color, let's just remove this. This is going to be answer is equal to correct. If it is, the color is going to be green. Otherwise, the color is going to be red. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's check this out. Let's refresh this. Alright, so I've got an error. Oh yeah, it's colors.red. Alright, so we've got question number 1. That's working, and then we've got the question here. Pigs can fly. Let's just say this is true. It's incorrect. Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft. That's true. Correct. Dogs have 6 legs. False. Correct. And there we go. That's pretty much it. So thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Now that you've created this app yourself, you can go ahead and add more features and change the styling. It's entirely up to you. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.